Hey folks, Steve here with another Fatal Alliances video. I think I'm going to get another Impulse done very quickly here. I was finishing up the Impulse 7 video and getting that uploaded to YouTube, and was sort of looking at the situation, the strategic situation on the map of the game for the Allied Impulse coming up here, and it sort of dawned on me that there's not a whole lot the Allies can actually do. And so I figured it'd make sense just to try to go through and make a quick video and try to resolve their impulse and kind of explain the tough situation that they're in. So right now, if we look at the production spiral and we look at where the impulse track is, right now it is Impulse 8, Allied Impulse. We're not going to roll for weather, but it is a question about what is the Allied side going to do with their impulse, because when they're done by itself, there's a 20% chance the turn ends. So if the Allied factions, the major factions in play right now, France, Commonwealth, Russia, were to take normal actions, that's a 20% chance that the turn will end, and then it's very likely that the beginning of the next turn will have the Central Powers go first. So if they decided to do actions, they could perform what is essentially some minor moves, but would be very smart moves to try to make at this point. But then, that would, if the die roll doesn't end the turn, the Central Powers will get to go, and then very likely have even more opportunities to do more damage before they can go first again next turn. Alternatively, the Allies could all pass and increase the chance of the turn ending to 40%. It would be as if we would add or subtract 2 from the die roll if everyone passed, and then that would mean that the turn ends, the Germans don't get to do any more damage, but then they still get to go, likely still get to go first at the beginning of the next turn. And so it's sort of a tough situation that the Allies just kind of have to expect that the Germans are going to get to go again soon, and they're going to have to deal with that, and they're going to need some better, they need to make a choice here. What do they do? And I think that passing might be fine, and it might help recoup some of what's going on and reset the board a little bit. But there are some important actions that I think it would behoove the Commonwealth to try to make this impulse, to try to do what they can, because it's still likely the turn's going to continue, and they might as well prepare as best as possible for the next series of events. I think I'm going to go with that idea. So I'm just going to try to run very quickly through this turn. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot here to do. First things first in talking about actions. So the reality is France doesn't have a whole lot to do. I don't think I want to be doing anything too crazy with them. They have limited options. Here's the one problem. So if the turn ends and the French have not made a land attack, they're going to suffer a morale penalty. And right now, the only real attack that I think I could perform that would be of any real value at this point would be to attack this hex here that has a 6 combat power with this stack, which has 8, and this stack, which has 5. But the odds are so terrible on that I'm likely to lose more units. I'm likely to lose a fair number of units, and their morale loss for eliminated units is going to outweigh the morale loss for not attacking. So at this point, I think the French just need to eat the morale loss for not attacking. And the other problem is the Commonwealth are kind of in the same boat. They really don't have any good opportunities to attack, except maybe if they declared war on the Ottomans right away and then got an attack off here. But I don't think we want to do that yet. I'm just not sure it makes sense to do so. And so, I think France is just going to do a land action, and they're just going to do a couple of minor things, because that's all they can really do. The Commonwealth, I think, is going to take a naval action. I think there's a lot of naval things that they can still do at this point to try to prepare for future turns, knowing that the turn's going to end soon. And Russia needs to take a land action. There's not a whole lot for them to do over here. They're sort of stuck with the situation they have, but they can still rail a unit from here, and they need to get the Serbians to fix up the their situation here. They're going to be essentially out of supply, or they are out of supply right now, and they need to restore supply, or they're going to be in a world of hurt if they don't, because they're just going to get eliminated, and that's going to be the end of this front very quickly. So I think they need to do all of that. That's the only way they can really continue operating effectively. So looking at our sequence of play, just knowing that France is going to do land, Commonwealth is going to do naval, and Russia is going to do land. We're going to look at our naval movement first. Just very quickly, I'm not going to try and send the Anzac Division out to invade. What I really should have done is gotten this Australian unit set up to go, but it needs transports, and that's our main problem. We don't have the transports to get this Australian territorial unit anywhere, and that's kind of the same problem with everything over in the world map, because we don't have really any transports. And so I'm going to rectify that a little bit by doing a movement with these two transports here. So I'm going to, and you'll note that the furthest these guys can go is 2. So what I'm going to have them do is move as a unit, and they're going to go 1 to the Eastern Mediterranean, and then 2 to the Red Sea, and I'm going to put them on the world map part of the Red Sea so that I don't forget. Well, actually, it's probably better that I just leave them here. So I guess I'll just leave them. I'll leave them here. So they're just going to go to the zero box here, and the idea is that when it gets to the end of the turn and they return to base, they're going to return to base to Aden here, Aden, which is Commonwealth controlled, and it is a major port, so that eventually these transports can go pick up some of these Indian units and bring them to a front, or we can send them down to Australia and actually get the Pacific invasions going. I think at this point it's sort of a, setup may not have been most effective for that, so oh well. In the other parts of the world map that we still want to do some naval movements, so I think what I want to have happen here is these guys are, let's see, how do I want to do this? I want to chase down these units and try to get them before they can get into port, safe into port. So I'm just trying to see how far I can get these guys to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so I'm going to send these guys 1, 2, 3. They're not going to be able to intercept, so they're going to go into the 1 box, and then this Dartmouth is going to similarly go and go 1, 2, and it's going to go into the 2 box. And we'll look at doing naval combat in a moment. So these ships are heading there. We're going to try to take out the German ships. And then otherwise, these guys, I don't know that there's a whole lot to do with them. At least I can't think of anything. They're sort of already out here. So we'll leave them be for now, and then, yeah, I think that's all good there. I don't think these guys are enough to challenge the Austrian fleet, so I think they're probably fine. These guys probably aren't enough to do anything. I do want to try to deal with these subs. So we will have, let me zoom in a little bit. This guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. I'm grabbing all the dudes with decent range for this. And then we'll just leave them be for now, and then I mean, it doesn't hurt for these guys just to, you know, I can do this no problem. It's no big deal at all. I'll actually leave the sub there. We'll put them here in the English channel just for fun, and then these guys will go, you know, what is essentially 1, 2, and they can all end up in the 2 box. And they're going to try to take out these subs if they can. And I think that's all the naval moves that are worth taking at this point. So now naval combats. So we are going to try to do a naval combat here. Yep. So let's take a look at... Alright, so we're going to flip the Dartmouth. And we're going to do a search. So... yeah. Alright, let's see what happens. Ooh. Well, the Commonwealth succeeded. And they got everybody. They got everybody in their search. For all their search boxes, they rolled a 1, which is basically the best thing they could roll. The Germans aren't going to be able to roll anything because they need to roll a 0, and they don't have any bonuses or anything like that. Yeah, I think it's impossible for them to actually succeed. So they do have to roll, and they rolled the worst thing that they could roll. Oh my god. Oh man. Oh, this is gonna be bad for the Germans. This is gonna be real bad. Okay. So we're gonna determine our surprise points. So it's gonna be 2, which is the highest C box the Commonwealth has units in, plus 10, so 12 surprise versus what, 1 GE surprise, which nets 11 Commonwealth surprise. Yikes. Okay. Well, it's going to be in surface naval combat, and this is going to be just a slaughter. Oh man, it's going to be bad. Okay. So let's look at the base values for the sea combat. So I'm going to flip, so 2, so 7. So they have 7 combat power. And they have 4 ships. The Germans have, well, they actually have 7 attack power themselves, 7 attack power. And they have 3 ships. And let's see, so 7 attack power, so they're both on the 6 to 9 chart. And boy, I think what they are going to do is, wow, this is going to be rough. Okay, so they're going to spend some of their surprise on nullifying the German ability. So if they, let's see, right now they could damage something. So they're going to spend, so they're going to spend 2, so they're down to 9 surprise to shift the 3 to 5 column. Where they're not going to be able to do, the best they can do is abort Commonwealth units. And the Commonwealth is going to ratchet up their strength by, what, I guess 4. Spent down to 1 surprise. So they're going to use up the rest of their surprise. Commonwealth shifted 2. And that's going to be several shifts. So 6 to 9, they're going to do 4 shifts. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the 29 to 38. Oh my goodness gracious, this is gonna be rough. Okay. Okay, so okay, well let's see how we go here. So the 29 to 38 column against 3 ships is 1x, 1d, and 3a to Germans, and the Germans are going to do back 2a. Interesting. Okay, so for the X's, the Germans will pick the Emden for the X, and that failed, so the Emden is destroyed. Make that our graveyard for the moment. Now for the damage, the Germans will select the Nuremberg for that. And they are damaged. And I'll go ahead and just put him on the repair. It's going to be hard to do. Too many windows open. Damage, so he goes into the repair pool. And then we have the aborts. So the first abort has to be on the Scharnhorst. And that's a 2. So that is an abort. And the rest of the aborts, I mean, more aborts don't do anything more, so he's going to have to return to base. And I think he's going to go to Dar es Salaam, which is where he wanted to be anyway. Now the 2 aborts. The first abort will be on the Yarmouth. So the Yarmouth will abort. And the second one, the Germans would pick the Minotaur, I guess. And the Minotaur actually doesn't abort. That's funny. Okay, so he's going to have to abort. And they'll actually go to Kenya, since that's the nearest port and it's easy to get to. So there you go. Let's see. That's not enough for a major victory, but this unit is destroyed, so we're going to put it in the graveyard. That's a little more apt for this, so we'll throw it here. There we go. Okay, so that is done. And so the Commonwealth managed to chase down those escaping German ships and managed to destroy some of them. And now the remaining naval combat is up here. So we will flip the Shannon and let's see. Alright, so they're going to try to get these German subs. And they're going to roll. And I don't think we're going to have any more flip. Well, I guess we could. We're going to flip 4 more in the hope that we have a better success. Yep. Okay, so we're going to subtract 1 from our search roll. We need 3 or less now, essentially. And we succeeded. Best roll possible, and the Germans fail. Okay. So the Germans, boy, yeah. I wonder how this goes, if this is anti-submarine warfare or not. I suppose this might be treated as just a normal surface naval combat. So interesting. All right, so we have the Commonwealth has, in terms of their surprise points, 2 plus 4 is 6 surprise. And the Germans have let's see. The Germans failed, and I guess the Commonwealth's gonna have both of these subs included in the combat. So they're gonna get 2 surprise points. The net is 4 for CW. And let's see, so that's 7 combat power, 2 ships. And this is, I should have just flipped these guys. 7, 9, 14, 16, 18, 20, 26. 26 combat power, CW, and they've got 9 ships. Now the thing is, because I rolled a 1 and there was the -1 subtraction, technically the Commonwealth convoy are included in this, so it's actually 17 ships, which isn't good. We might just have to live with that. We'll see what happens. So, let's see. Like before, so they've got 6 surprise. Six surprise. So I guess what they'll do, well, firstly, the Commonwealth convoys are going to be screened, I think. Okay. All right. Sorry. This is running longer than I thought it would, but anyway. All right, so the Commonwealth is going to spend all 6 of their, now they're going to spend 4 of their surprise, reducing the combat power to 1 to 2. So, and then the Commonwealth will spend their remaining 2 to shift from the 21 to 28 to the 29-38 column. And that's going to provide against 2 ships, 1X, 1D, and 2A. Oh no, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, no, that's right. Okay. 2 Germans, and then the Germans are going to do back 2A. And the convoys can't be selected for that because of the screening. So, let's see. I guess the Germans are gonna select this guy to not be, or to be the target of the sink, and they succeeded. So this is only damaged. So we'll go ahead and flip this guy and put him on the repair pool that I have off on another screen. And we're going to aim to do a damage to this guy. I guess he's the only option. And so he is indeed damaged. And we'll put him in the repair pool as well. And I'm not even sure it's going to matter. So we get 2 units. We'll go ahead and say it was... actually, we'll just make it... Well, yeah, sure. He aborted to Belfast, and he aborted to Belfast, and the rest of these guys will hang out here in the Pharaoh's Gap. All well and good. Okay. So that's complete, and that, I believe, is all of our naval combat. No strategic bombardments going on. I do not think we are going to have any ground strikes at this point. Rail movement. We are going to have some rail movement. So the French are going to rail this Moroccan territorial unit to Algiers. And I think that is really it. They don't have a lot of options, and they're not going to attack. They're just going to eat that, but they wanted to rail some stuff. The Russians are going to rail, and they're going to rail from the world map. They're going to rail this unit here, and they're going to place him in Tiflis with these other units here to help for the eventual Ottoman conflict. So that is our rail. And now we do land movement. So I think, for the most part, all of this stuff is as good as it's going to get. This guy's a little precarious, and he might end up getting beat up, so I may actually... I'm going to pull him back. Whoops. How many units are here? 2. Yeah, this is what we'll do. We'll send this guy back here, and then we'll send this guy over here. And yeah, we're giving up a resource, but on the next turn, these guys are going to swoop in, and they're going to crack that right there. So it's going to make sense to retreat a little bit here and have a stronger line that we can use later. And then all that's fine. And now we have to look at Serbia. So here's the issue. Right now, they're out of supply. These units are all out of supply. And if they move, they get turned face down. And I'm trying to make sure if they do that, will they be able to stay upright if they move back into supply? I think it's even if they move into supply, they still end up flipping. Um, yeah, so this is going to be tough. So they're out of supply. So when they move, they're going to end up becoming flipped. But at this rate, they're they're already kind of screwed. So this is what I'm going to end up doing here. Um, he's going to move the 1, and he has to flip. He's going to move 1, 2. Well, no, that's fine. These guys are going to move 1 back. They have to flip. And this guy's going to... Now that that's done, they're back in supply. And everyone else... Yeah, this is what I should have done. These guys are out of supply when they moved, and they flip. But now they're supplying supply through here, so he can move 1, 2. Well, he'll move there, we'll say. And then this guy can move 1, 2. He can move here. And he still has the sweet defense of the mountains. And so these guys are flipped, which sucks, and they might get knocked out here, but well, we'll just have to wait and see. That's the best we can do, but we needed to get out of there because we were about to be fully cut off from supply, and we just can't have that happen. Any other land movement? I don't think so. I think that was it. So, land movement, any invasions? No, I don't think so. Land combat, again, I don't think it makes sense to conduct any land combat anywhere. Just doesn't make sense to do that at this point. Yeah, I just don't see it being a really viable option right now. None of these places are really up to snuff for land combat. Air rebasing, I don't know. We'll just say no. I don't see anywhere that makes a lot of sense just to do an air rebase. A lot of stuff's flipped as it is. So we'll call it done. Reorganization. I technically could try to do some reorganization in a couple of places. Most of my HQ are flipped, so there's not a huge amount. I think it'd just be Russia. And again, if I flip this guy, it kind of opens him up. And if this is the end of the turn, or it's getting towards the end of the turn, they're all going to flip anyway, so it's not worth the risk. So I think we're done. Yeah, I think that's going to be it. It's going to be a quick one. So, oh, there was one thing that I did forget to do at the end of the, or during the last impulse, and it doesn't really hurt anything that I forgot, but we need to do a U.S. entry chit pool because of the Japan empowered in the Pacific. So if you look on your charts at the U.S. entry actions, number 30 towards the bottom of the list, Japan empowered in the Pacific means roll for each port Japan takes from Germany on the Asia or Pacific maps. I think they meant the world map. That's probably a carryover from World in Flames, but because Japan did take Tsingtao last impulse, we need to roll because it's a -2 is the result. So basically we're going to roll a die. If it's 1 or 2, we're going to pull 1 chit from the U.S. entry pool list of chits that they've already drawn. And I rolled a 4, so they don't lose a chit, and that's done. So we should have taken care of that again before. Don't need to do that now. And now looking at the impulse, so there's a 20% chance the turn will end. I think at this point the allies would kind of want it to end so they can regroup, but we'll see what happens here. So we will roll a 1. We'll roll it 1 die and we'll see what happens. And I rolled a 9. That is not sufficient. So the impulse marker will flip. We'll proceed to impulse number 9, and we will pick up again in the next video. So this one's a little bit shorter. Still took a little while, but wanted to get a couple of these things resolved while we had it going on. So that was impulse number 8. Very quick. Things are winding down for the turn. Even the Central Powers don't have a whole lot that they're going to do. We might see some action down here against the Serbians now that the front's changed. This is a pretty static area. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what options are out there. So, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll catch you next time.